Hi, it's Lee from colouringqueen.net, and today I am colouring this cute little freebie that Molly Harrison has given away. If you want it, you can just nip over to her Facebook page and scroll through her posts. She gave it away the other day, and I am going to challenge myself to use my set of 12 Prismacolor watercolours, and I'll probably go over it in pencil later on. I've printed it out on watercolour paper that is just cheap as chips from Kmart. So I've actually just finished colouring this picture, and I actually just coloured it in pink. And wouldn't you know it, I set up the camera and started colouring, and then realised I had forgotten to turn the camera on. So I thought that this time I'll colour it again, and this time I'll colour it with red accents instead of pink, and I'll show you both at the end, and I'd love to know which one you think is the best. Hopefully I'll remember to turn the camera on. So it is Easter, and for the last few months, sometime just after Christmas decorations have been put away, and in Australia the Easter items have all made their appearance in the supermarkets. I'm talking hot cross buns, which are like fruit buns. I don't know if everyone has them in the world. Chocolate Easter eggs, even those icing sugar Easter eggs, which I just think are just incredibly sweet. Couldn't touch those, but so many different sorts of chocolate eggs. You've got your chickens, you've got your ones filled with nougat or filled with other chocolates or cream flavours or peppermint or all sorts of things. So many different types of chocolate. I used to love, in Australia we have Darryl Lee chocolate Easter eggs, and I used to love the little eggs that had the nougat in the middle and the little furry chicken on top. And they were my all-time favourite. I've even got a story about those, but I won't tell you today. But I got one a couple of years ago, and it was just too sweet. I couldn't eat it. And so I just had little bits of it in the fridge, and even just eating the little bits, it was just too sweet for me. So I read somewhere that when you get older, you can't take as much sugar as maybe when you're younger. So I think that's what happened, because I just love them so much, and now I can't. So now my favourites are the Cadbury little tiny, the little itty bitty chocolate peppermint ones. Oh, they're so good. But I'd love to know what sort of chocolates that you will be having this year. And I'm sure some of you will be having a chocolate bunny. And it seems that every brand, it brings out something for Easter. And of course, they're usually chocolate, and often they are a bunny. Now, one of those brands is Lindt Chocolates. They're based in Switzerland, and they're well-known players in the chocolate world. And actually, when I used to work in Sydney, I used to work just over the road from the Lindt Chocolate shop, and we'd often go there and have hot chocolate. And even back then, I actually wasn't a fan of the Lindt Chocolates, finding them a little bit too sweet, but they do have a big range, and they are beautiful chocolate, and they have all sorts of things. They've got everyday blocks of chocolate, they've got boxes of chocolate, they've got a pick and mix so you can choose your own, and they've got a range of chocolates. They've got dark chocolate, milk chocolate, chocolate with flavoured centres in them, with your peppermints and your caramels, and even with solid things like fruit and nut or orange. They've got it all. And at Easter, Lindt increased their range to include Easter items like Easter hampers, whole boxes full of all the sorts of chocolate that you could possibly need over Easter. They've got small chocolate eggs, they've got gorgeous bunnies wrapped in gold foil with their signature red ribbon and bell around the neck, and they've got those bunnies in different varieties. They've got the milk chocolate bunny, which is signified with the red ribbon around its neck and the little bell, and then they've got a dark brown ribbon one for the dark chocolate bunny, because some people like milk chocolate and some people like dark chocolate. I actually like milk chocolate, but I am actually meant to eat dark chocolate, but no, I can't do it. I really like milk chocolate the best. Now, there's a pretty cute story about how the Lindt chocolate bunny came to be part of their Easter product line. And apparently, one of the chocolatiers at the Lindt factory had a daughter who owned a real life bunny rabbit. Now, unfortunately, one day the rabbit was in the garden of their home and then it wasn't. It had ran away, and the little girl was absolutely devastated. Now, to cheer her up, when he was at work, the chocolatier decided that he would create a little chocolate bunny for his daughter to basically comfort her from her loss of her real life bunny. And he made this chocolate bunny, he wrapped it up in beautiful gold foil. He put a red ribbon around its neck, and he added a little bell, presumably so it could be heard and not lost again. And it seems that Lindt, the bosses, were impressed by the bunny, and they started to add it to their product line back in 1952. That's how long the Golden Bunny has been around. Now, and it continues to this day. Every store I go into, I see a Lindt Golden Bunny, even at supermarkets, not just at the Lindt chocolate shop. Now, Lindt, of course, they wanted to protect the Golden Bunny, and they made sure to register a trademark for the Golden Bunny in 2000, which was ultimately granted the year after. Now, the trademark helps Lindt from competition trying to copy the shape of the bunny and the distinctive gold foil and the brown and red ribbon around the bunny neck. Now, Lindt submitted trademarks to a number of different countries for the shape in both a black and white format, so like a 3D bunny, without a colour claim, based purely on the shape only, so they're protecting the shape of the bunny, but the colour of the foil could change. And they also submitted a trademark for both the gold foiling, the red necktie, and the shape of the bunny. Now, chocolate Easter bunnies, they've been popular for years before Lindt got in on the game. And Germany is actually credited with the first chocolate bunny. But their mass appeal is said to be as a result of an American, Robert Stocker, who created a giant 5-foot tall chocolate bunny as part of an Easter promotion for his drugstore. Now, in Europe, the bunnies really took off, and so they did in America as well, because the bunnies are said to symbolise spring. And after a long sleep during winter, the bunny will lay colourful eggs for children to find. So there you have the bunny and the egg, which is really weird, because shouldn't they just be small bunnies? Because bunnies don't lay eggs. I just find that a really weird story. But, I mean, who am I to argue with tradition? Now, since the rise of the popularity of the chocolate bunny for Easter, there's been a range of different styles of bunny. We've got different flavours, we've got different wrappings on the bunny, and if you're Australian, well, the bunny is not so popular, and we have the bilby. Although, you know, with my love of rabbits, I have a bunny. And for my friends across the pond that might not know this, we do have rabbits in Australia. We have heaps of them. And at one stage, they were considered a pest for farmers, and probably still are. And they had a little price on their head. But there are also domesticated bunnies as well in Australia. But in Australia, because they are often considered a pest for farmers and they breed like rabbits, Australia has been trying to promote the bilby as an alternative to the Easter bunny. It's going to be the bunny for me, because you know I love them. And the bilby, for my friends across the pond, it's a type of Australian marsupial. It looks a bit like a bunny. It's got sort of long ears, but it lives mainly in the desert of Australia, and unlike the bunny, it's actually an endangered species. So the more that people can recognise the bilby and talk about it, you know, it's hoped that the species can survive with more knowledge about it, which is why it's part of a chocolate bunny. So nowadays, with most confectionery bunnies being mass produced and wrapped in their foiling, there's some sort of technical constraints with the molds. Like, you can't get molds for 5 gazillion types of bunnies. They're really expensive to produce. And same with the wrapping process. That can actually cause a lot of similarities with the bunnies offered for sale. And you might notice this when you go to the shops, particularly those stand-up bunnies. They all tend to look the same to me. It's just the foiling that's different. So it's estimated that over 160 million Lindt golden bunnies sell each year, which are now produced in a small size as well as that dark chocolate. And they've even got a different colour gold foil as well, like a Lucky Charm. And maybe in different colour countries there's different types of foiling as well. I'm just basing my knowledge off the Australian store. Personally, I prefer Haig's chocolates and not Bunnies. Haig's chocolate peppermint frogs. If you're in Australia, get one. They're delicious. But I digress. Of course, when something is that popular, there are bound to be copycats or copy rabbits, as the case may be. Now, it wasn't long before Lindt noticed a very similar bunny being sold by one of its competitors. The first case was when German chocolatier Riegelen, and here is where we find out that I got kicked out of German in high school. So my apologies for the pronunciation. They faced the wrath of Lindt. They produced a chocolate bunny wrapped in a bronzy gold foil in a sitting position as well, and it had a rich chocolate brown ribbon around its neck. Now, the bunnies do look slightly different in appearance and ribbon, as well as the text on the foiling shows a different manufacturer. But Lindt claimed that the use of Riegelen's bunny was confusing and an infringement of their trademark. Now, the matter was dismissed a number of times by lower courts, which Lindt appealed each time. And finally, after 12 years of bunny back and forth, this bunny battle was resolved. The court found that the text on the bunnies and the different colour foil really wouldn't confuse the public as to who manufactured the bunny. They said it was unlikely that the two chocolate bunnies could be confused, given the different colour of the two bunnies, because one was like a bronzy gold and one, Lindt, is more of a goldy gold. And the absence of the red ribbon on the Riegelen bunny. They even went as far as to look at the foiling really closely and the imprint on it. And they actually said that the Riegelen bunny actually had a cheerful expression, while the Lindt bunny was actually described as more dignified. Lindt was really disappointed, but the court appeals were exhausted. There was nowhere else to go. So Lindt had to cop it on the chin, and Riegelen got to have their bronze bunny with their brown ribbon. Now, I have to remind myself now to go to the supermarket, look at the Lindt bunny and see what I think the expression looks like. Does it look dignified? I don't know. Now, not deterred by their loss in the German courts to protect their beloved bunny, Lindt then took on an Austrian company called Horsworth. Now, they were manufacturing gold-wrapped sit-in chocolate bunnies with a ribbon around their neck as well. Now, the Horsworth bunny is similar, but not exactly the same as the Lindt bunny either. The Lindt bunny has an elegant red ribbon, and the Horsworth bunny has a really weird-looking red and white striped ribbon that is overall bigger and clunkier and larger than the Lindt one. I mean, it really looks quite clumsy in comparison. But despite these differences, Lindt felt that it was confusing enough with the look of the bunnies that customers could mistakenly think that this Horsworth bunny was actually part of the Lindt product range. Now the pose is similar with the bunny sort of sitting down, but the eye shape and the colouring on the foil is different, as well as that awful ribbon. Now Lindt sued for the trademark infringement and also unfair competition. And Holsworth countered that by saying they'd been making the bunny since 1962, well before Lindt actually started selling their bunny in Austria, where the claim was being held, in 1994. And Holsworth, however, they didn't have a trademark on their bunny, but Lindt did. So Lindt sued them for trademark infringement, and Holsworth, countered with, you're just trying to use your trademark to quash your competition. But Lindt were adamant that they were just really trying to protect their bunnies. They just didn't want to see plagiarised bunnies. So the matter ended up being fought out in court, and ultimately Holsworth were ordered to stop making the bunnies. They had to pay Lindt's legal costs as well as a proportion of costs and damages. So they had to try and work out how much of a loss this was to Lindt because of this other bunny that looked very similar to their bunny. How many people mistakenly bought that bunny? Now, Holsworth, despite this setback, they decided that they'll continue to make bunnies, and they decided that from then on that they'll actually discuss with Lindt the shape of their new bunnies on the market, because, ultimately, who wants to get into another stoush with the long arm of Lindt? And I guess these talks all went well because Holsworth are still making Easter bunnies, and they're in a complete different look. They're sitting with a full-on face pose, and the foiling is nothing like Lindt's. It's really brightly coloured. It's actually quite garish. You could not mistake these bunnies for a Lindt bunny at all. So far Lindt have had 2 battles over the bunnies. One battle they lost, one battle they won. But it seems that the chocolate bunny manufacturers didn't get the memo that Lindt will defend its trademark vigorously if you produce a chocolate bunny that could look similar to the Lindt bunny. Lidl, which is a German-based supermarket, but now with 12,000 stores globally, they decided to enter the chocolate bunny market. Now, for Aussies, apparently it's a competitor to Aldi, and like Aldi, it only has a small range of products in each category. Now, Lidl decided to produce its own chocolate bunny for the Easter market, and in 2017, those bunnies hit the stores. The little bunny looks very similar in shape to the Lindt bunny, but it's got a lighter gold foiling on it. There's white paws and ears printed on it, and it's got what I would call a golden bow, but some people call a green bow. Now, the brand name is got a bright red background, and it's actually shown in text on the side of the bunny as well. Now, Lindt, seeing this little bunny, they filed an injunction against Lidl. Now, an injunction is just a fancy pants word of just a court order that basically requires someone to stop doing something. And in this case, Lindt wanted Lidl to stop advertising and offering for sale chocolate bunnies in gold foil, or any foil colour for that matter. Now, Lindt based its rights on that black and white bunny that they had a trademark for. That 3D black and white bunny trademark protects the shape of the bunny, but it also protects any colour of foil on the bunny. So even though this was a lighter colour foil, Lindt wanted them to stop producing this bunny. So Lindt argued that the little chocolate bunny was similar in shape and design, and therefore it could be confused with its own bunny, and therefore infringe the trademark rights of their brand. Now, Lindt effectively wanted a ban on any advertising or promotion of the chocolate bunnies, and also were claiming a significant amount of fine every day for non-compliance. So every day that those chocolate bunnies were on the market, and Lidl, by the way, is not and a lush chocolate brand. It's a cheaper chocolate, that you might find like in Aldi if you're in Australia, where unbranded chocolate. So in addition, Lindt wanted all of the stock of the little bunnies to be destroyed. That sounds bad, doesn't it? It sounds like little bunnies rather than little bunnies. It's not little bunnies, it's little bunnies. So the claim was lodged in Switzerland in 2018, and 3 years later the court dismissed the claim as Lindt doesn't have an EU registered trademark for the golden bunny shape and colour. I'm getting really tongue-tied with this one. Lindt weren't taking that laying down though, and a long court battle began. Lindt basically arguing that their use of the gold bunny had established a trademark in that jurisdiction. People seeing the gold bunny, they know it's Lindt. Initially, the court decided that the brand name text that was printed on the bunnies might be enough to distinguish them, but this was knocked out eventually, and eventually this matter ended up in a higher court in Switzerland, which was the Supreme Court, and there they actually found that Lindt's 3D trademark showing the bunny in a gold foil, so basically when they're saying 3D trademark, it's just a shape, and in gold foil with the red ribbon, had actually acquired what's called distinctiveness. It actually became a trademark through its use. People know when they look at a gold foiled bunny with a red ribbon around it, they know it's Lindt. And the 3D trademark that they had without the colour protected that shape in any colour whatsoever. So Lindt were also able to produce surveys that they'd done of their customers and people in Switzerland, showing that the Lindt Gold Bunny, irrespective of its colour, has become established as a trademark through use. Now, these surveys were given a lot of credit by the courts. They were undertaken by Lindt, conducted across 1,200 Swiss nationals. I can't pronounce anything today, my apologies. Aged between 15 and 74 in all language regions, and the results showed that 94% of nationals recognised Lindt's bunny in gold and 95% recognised it even in black and white. Now this survey, even though it was done by Lindt and they got to choose the people, like the methodology of this survey is a little bit odd, because they got to choose who took part. There's people there that are 15, like they're under the age of capacity in Australia to make sort of adult decisions. Anyway, who knows what methodology they used. The court actually accepted this survey, even though it wasn't done by an independent third party or an expert in the demographics and the branding. It was accepted into the court, and the Supreme Court actually agreed. They said you didn't even have to prove it. Anyone, Swiss consumers would, or anyone in Switzerland would just look at that gold bunny and believe it was part of the Lindt range. It's that ingrained. And so accordingly, the court found that the trademark was valid. And even though there were some sort of differences, like different colour gold foiling, different collar, pendant, the paws and the ears were slightly different in colouring, like littles were actually printed on white, whereas the Lindt ones are just outlines on it. They basically said that consumers only remember the major features of the bunny, namely the squatting position of the compact bunny on all fours with the ribbon, a pendant, rather stern look rather than distinguished look as it was previously called, the minimalist facial features and the broad slightly slanted ears and smooth surfaces. And they said by copying these features, Little's bunny creates a likelihood of confusion and infringes Lindt's trademarks for shape. And those trademarks had actually acquired distinctiveness through use, and they were valid, and it was a high likelihood of confusion. Now, the matter even went to the Swiss Federal Supreme Court, who also found in favour of Lindt. And the Supreme Court, or the Court of Appeal, basically said that the general public aren't likely really to look at all the details. The fact that the bunnies were only seasonal and sold during Easter didn't really affect their attention level. No one's really going to look at the bunny more closely. They're just going to grab the gold bunny. And the average consumer wouldn't really recollect all the general features of the bunny. They would just basically look at the outline and go, yeah, that's a Lindt bunny. And when they looked at the little bunnies, because it's got some of those general features like the shape, it would just trigger a connection and basically confuse the consumer. And even the text on them wasn't enough to distinguish them according to the court, because littles actually had Favorina on the side, because the average person, according to the court, would just choose products based on their shape without necessarily looking at the label in any detail. So ultimately, the court ordered Lidl to destroy their bunnies, take them out, destroy them, and award costs against them. So they had to pay for Lindt's costs. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that there was someone tasked with gobbling up all the Easter bunnies and drinking copious amounts of milk to wash it down with. More than likely, the chocolate was just reused for another product and remoulded and then sold and made into something else. And it seems that Lidl haven't bowed out of the Easter bunny market, as they are still selling Easter bunnies as at the time of filming. However, their new Easter bunnies have a completely different look to the previous bunnies, with a full-on frontal face to the front rather than that side profile. They've got very colourful and pre-printed bunny foiling. There is no way that you could confuse this brightly coloured bunny for a Lindt bunny. So that's the story of the Battle of the Bunnies. So Lindt have won twice and only lost one in protecting their little bunny shape. So I'd love to know if you are going to get a Lindt bunny this year. I am not, because I find the chocolate too sweet, but I might get some of those Cadbury peppermint little tiny egg chocolates, stash them somewhere where only I can feast on them and have those. So I finished this picture from Molly Harrison, and here they are, both of them. I went over and I shaded them with Prismacolor pencils. As always, I overshaded and didn't leave enough white space, but it's just a problem with me. I tend to fill everything rather than leave enough white space. I've added some white with gel pen from Arteza, and I filled in those hearts on the red dress with a Staedtler Gold pen. And to frame it all and cover up all my whoopsies and mistakes, I've added some washi tape around the edge. So that's it from me. Until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.